We are so excited for this week's episode, which is sponsored by our favorite, HelloFresh.
You made soup?
I made soup, baby.
Oh my God. One time I tried to make soup for my family because I told them that I was going to cook and I was like 8 and I put cucumbers in water. So you're doing really great.
No, I'm really excited for this soup. It's the Mexicali black bean soup.
Okay, do it.
Okay, ready?
It's good. I made balsamic rosemary turkey meatloaf and it has almonds with the green beans. Can you see?
Oh, wow. Also, mine you put blue tortilla chips on it. It's very thrilling for me.
No, I'm proud. I'm not laughing. I'm proud of you.
HelloFresh cuts out stressful meal planning and prepping so you can enjoy cooking and get dinner on the table in just about 30 minutes or even 20 minutes with their quick and easy options.
The packaging HelloFresh uses to ship your food is almost entirely made from recyclable or already recycled content.
Sorry, I'm eating. I love it so much. With HelloFresh, produce gets to you faster than a grocery store, so it arrives at peak freshness and flavor.
Easily change your delivery days or food preferences and skip a week whenever you need.
HelloFresh is committed to making fresh, delicious food available now more than ever, and has taken extra steps to keep its employees and customers safe.
Go to HelloFresh.com and use code JBU12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com and use code JBU12 to get 12 free meals, including free shipping. I'm going to show my little card. Look how easy. The card tells you everything you need to know. Incredible.
And so you cooked meat and that was okay? It was easy? I've never cooked meat.
Oh, really? Yeah, it's turkey. Yeah, it was, I used to never use my oven and now I do. So my roommate gets HelloFresh too. And she used to just make pesto pasta and now she makes different meals all the time. So honestly, you kind of probably saved her life.
So make sure you click that link, baby. We love a good deal and we love a good soup.
So this video is about dating during the pandemic, but also dating in general because it is currently a pandemic.
What?
So like if we were to talk about dating at all, it would have to have the caveat during the pandemic.
Oh, got it.
But basically like what have we been doing? How has dating been going? How have people been?
Yeah, I gotta say, things have been going well for me.
So Allison had a broken engagement and then now the like next person you meet, it will have to be kind of virtually, right?
Yeah, so actually, it's so funny because when the broken engagement happened, or as I like to call it,
the abandonment. Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, I'll just take a year off and I'll just take a really long time and I thought everyone would sort of tell me that and that I would really need to like really, grieve this forever. And I was so surprised because like literally my parents were like, so when like do you feel ready or like, and my therapist like pretty quickly was like, so I was reading about this dating app for Jews.
Oh my God.
And my sister was like, yeah, just like once you meet someone else, it'll be better. And I was like, but don't I need to like, be better on my own first? And like, and she was like, whatever, who cares? Because honestly, I think that when a relationship comes to an end because you have an issue or like you don't know how to be in a partnership or you have to figure out who you are, then like that longer period of time makes sense. But the issue is not my issue. I love being in a relationship. And as I've said, like I've been in like grief boot camp because I just like came home and just like processed my heartbreak for like months without like going outside.
I know.
Anybody,
Yeah.
So it really let me like not avoid it or extend it in any way. So I actually like, so I kind of like kept checking in with myself, being like, do I feel ready? Because part of it is like, you know, it's fun just to get attention from people that can be
Mm-hmm.
like, you know, obviously
A little boost.
everything, yeah, everything is balanced, right? So when I say like that's fun, it's like, but that's not the only validation I get. Like I give
Right.
myself validation, but it's also fun to like text with somebody or whatever. Um, and so obviously the only way to really date during this time is I think online dating.
Mm-hmm.
And so I signed back up for it like maybe a little over a month ago. And
Wow.
yeah, and at first like wasn't going well.
I admire like the fortitude of you being like, no, I'm ready. I'm ready for this. And like let me just go and sign up and like I don't know. I think other people would have crumbled under the idea.
Well, it was really interesting, right? Because I thought that I should have,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, as my therapist said recently, life doesn't have to be agony.
Right.
And so like I don't have to live in this place of sadness forever because like I got to a point, I think what really happened for me is I got to a point where I don't expect him to come back anymore.
Oh.
And so I was definitely like holding out hope. I was definitely like it was really hard for me to let the idea that the relationship was actually over go.
Mm-hmm.
Um but as more time passed, I was like, oh, okay, I'm never hearing from this person again.
And you were like, I have to move on.
Yeah, like I have to move on. And so, you know, I think that there's also maybe an idea that like you have to be fully moved on in order to date.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that's like that checking in with yourself, right? Like I know that like I had a FaceTime date and I cried.
You did?
Yeah.
What did he do?
He was so understanding. And you know what's really great is I think that when I was younger, I would have really thought that that was a big deal and I would have been embarrassed and I would have tried not to. But now I'm at a point where I'm like, of course I'm gonna cry. I had a fucking broken engagement. Like, do you know what I mean?
What
Like,
did he do though? Was he just like, I get it?
yeah, he was like, it's so terrible. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
You know, and it helped because like, and so this is what's funny, right? It's like, how do you tell people?
Mm-hmm.
How do you tell people that this thing happened? And
Right.
like, especially because I'm like a very minimally public figure where like if
Mm-hmm.
you wanted to Google my entire life, you could. And so with this guy, I was like texting with him on the app, and he wanted to like check out. He's working on a scripted podcast, and I had said I did a scripted podcast, gossip, check it out. And then he was like, "Well, can I listen to yours? You know, so like I can see what it's like." And I was like, "Well, the issue if I tell you what the podcast is, and you'll figure out my last name, and then you can Google me."
Which is the eternal struggle of having this channel is
Mm-hmm.
that we
Or
are
just being in the digital age, you know.
yeah, we are so Googleable. But I don't think I mean, I'm shocked by how many people like I know in real life who are not in entertainment who just have private Instagrams. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, your Instagram is private? And
Why
then I'm
not?
like, of course, most people probably have private Instagrams. Like, we are weird.
And so I said to him, okay, well, I'll tell you the name of it, but you have to promise that you won't do a deep dive on me. And also there's like a big reveal that I have to tell you, you know? And he was like, and then we decided that instead of me telling him the big reveal, he would try to find it.
Oh my God. So it's a game.
I was like, you have 90 seconds to Google me.
And find out what you have to tell him.
And so I literally timed him. And for 90 seconds, he like looked me up or whatever, but he didn't find the broken engagement.
Wow.
So then I told him via like messaging, and he was like, oh, I'm like, I think it's really people's reaction for the most part has really just been, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Which is like wonderful, like it doesn't seem to be making people uncomfortable. I don't think it makes them judge me in any way.
Mm-hmm.
It's just literally like, wow, that is like such a shitty thing to happen. I'm so sorry.
I think most people have been left even in smaller doses.
Hmm.
So they're like, that doesn't seem inconceivable to me.
So I'm being like, open about it. And so then
Mhm.
anyway, so by the time we had the FaceTime call, he already knew. But then
Mhm.
it was like talking about giving more details to it. And like my honest reaction at that point was to cry.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I cried. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like, oh my God, please hold while I cry. It was like I'm
Yeah.
telling a story, like
Mhm.
crying, like I just
Mhm.
had to get a tissue and whatever. Um, and I think that approaching it like this is my truth, this is what happened to me, and then saying, acknowledging that like, yes, this is like somewhat recent, but also I don't feel like I need to put my life on hold anymore because of
Mhm.
this other person's decision to blow up my life.
Mhm.
Like he's already taken up a lot of my time.
Right.
He's already changed my life in ways I did not want. And at a certain point, I need to take the control back. Um, but also, again, like that's me. I have done a shit ton of work on healing. I have been
Mhm.
able to address my healing like head on. I
Mhm.
also have suffered major heartbreaks in the past, so I sort
Mhm.
of had some tools and resources to move through them. It didn't necessarily like, because like I've talked about before, like I didn't reach the level of like being suicidal or self-harming. Like
Right.
I
Right.
and so I like in no way am I like, oh, in a few months after something like this, you should be ready to date again. It is like 100% like person to person. And
Mhm.
the only thing I would do is say, don't give yourself an arbitrary amount of time.
Mhm.
Instead, just like do weekly check-ins with yourself and be like, am I ready? Am I not ready? You can also stop
Yeah.
and start. When I first joined Hinge, I would cancel it the next day, then I would go back on, then I would pause my account, then I'd go back on, then I'd pause it, then so
Yeah.
like that could change day to day. But I think that like this pressure of like what you should do and when you should do it is something that is unnecessary. But I also think there's something really cool about this time as a time to meet people, because
Mhm.
you get to really know them more than you would in the past, because you just have to literally talk to them in a room
Mhm.
on FaceTime before you decide. Well, what do you think? How well do you think you should know someone before you meet someone in pandemic dating?
So I'm kind of shocked by how many people have that I know in my life have met someone during this time.
Hmm.
I was just talking to my friend Charlie, and he was on Bumble, met this girl, like talked for a little bit, and then they like met up twice at a park, and then they got tested, and now they're together. And I was like, during this, like you met during this. And so like, I like, but then other people I know have been really struggling and like, not sure how to meet up with people. It doesn't really align with their usual dating style. I think I would have a hard time right now. I mean, I'm in a relationship with my partner Mal, who we live together and have been together for a year and a half, and I think I would really be having a hard time meeting people now because uh in a it's like I didn't necessarily lead with getting to know people. So I
Because you're not right now, you're not, at least not looking for like a primary partner.
that's the thing. So like there's one person that I was talking to a lot via like text and voice memo and whatever. And that was cool because it allowed me to explore some gender stuff, but I was frustrated often by not being able to meet up in person. And that was
You didn't even go for
because
like an outdoor picnic 6 feet
I
apart.
that's not the vibe. I did not want like Mal was making fun of me because Mal was like, well, why don't you just go and like, say hi or like meet up or whatever. And I was like, I don't want to. I don't have any interest in like sitting with masks on and talking. Like, I don't want to do that. And Mal was like, that's so funny. Like, you've been talking to this person for months. You're not curious. And I was like, not really. It's frustrating because normally it's like elongated this thing where we're like now talking about books or whatever, and I'm like, what is like this normally would be a person that I've kicked out after 2 weeks. But now they're like, I'm just like, hey, do you have recommendations for like X, Y, and Z type book or something? Like it's very different for me. And then I've also been going on Zoom dates with a mysterious former podcast guest.
But those aren't dates.
No, they are.
How do you know they're dates?
Because they're like regular hanging out, and I've expressed that I like them in that way, and they were like, okay. And so then they're a very strange person, which I kind of love. But they were like, yeah, okay. And then like then we're just text all the time and Zoom all the time. But it's kind of this weird thing where like I feel like in person I would have been able to like get more clarity and seal the deal and like figure out like more of like what this is. But instead it's like way more ambiguous, and they don't live in LA, and there's like, so it's like kind of this weird ambiguous thing, because it's not like we're not gonna like show a tit on Zoom, like what, you know what I mean?
Well, maybe it's more a romantic connection than a sexual connection.
Maybe. My therapist says I like it because it's a challenge.
That makes sense.
My vibe is not to go to a picnic with someone. Like I've never pre-pandemic, I never went to a goddamn picnic with someone I was dating. Like now I'm gonna go to a picnic. So like what do you know, like it's been hard for me to adjust what I do to what is acceptable now, which like I feel like your vibe you would love to go to a picnic with someone and not touch until like you know what's going on, you know? Woo, 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 woo. Important announcement.
Important announcement time.
So you're probably going to think this is so simple and why are we explaining this? But a lot of people actually ask this question. So some of you are like, how do I listen to the JBU podcast? And obviously we love when you interact with us on social and you watch our videos here on YouTube. Like your support is so invaluable. But the best thing that you can do to support Just Between Us is to subscribe to us on a podcast app, literally any podcast app, and leave us a rating and review. There are so many of you on this channel. If y'all just hop skipped over to the podcast, then I assume we would be the most famous podcast in the world.
I think so. You'd be right up there with Ira Glass.
Yeah, it'd be Ira Glass and us. Please leave us a rating and review when you get there. It's so free and easy to do. Like we're going to do it right now. I'll show you on my phone. So you subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Here's how you do that. And then you subscribe on Spotify. You can follow. So basically like any podcast app you use, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, Castbox. Wow, there's so many. Find us on there, search Just Between Us, and hit the subscribe button. And then once you're subscribed, you'll automatically receive new episodes of Just Between Us every Wednesday and Friday. We are bringing you 2 full podcast episodes every week. So if you like us,
even if you find us vaguely amusing,
so please, 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 it's really simple and it really does help the podcast. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And if you do subscribe, like hit us up in the comments or hit us up on Instagram in the comments at JBU Podcast. And I will say, thank you. I love you.
That's good incentive.
Announcement over. Woo, woo.
Announcement is over. Woo, woo. I also like that it allows for more clarity of like, what is this? What's the purpose of this? Like, is it worth getting tested for?
I hate it.
Yeah, but I think that for people looking for maybe their primary partner, which you already have, like it is helpful to like, get a sense of like if somebody is willing to get tested for you. That sort of shows something.
It's such a commitment.
But is it, or is you just happen to get tested and then it's never a bad thing to get tested for COVID? Like,
yeah,
like we probably all should to a certain extent every few months. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I actually think that like we need to like take some of the onus off of like getting a COVID test for somebody. That really isn't that big of a deal.
Because my reaction still is like, you guys got tested for each other? Which is so funny because like, again, that's like kind of a former podcast guest, Janet Hardy, talked about how that was a thing within like STD testing, but now it's with like COVID testing.
Yeah.
You got tested for each other?
I also think it really shows like, I think this period of time is really showing each people your values in a way that it might take longer to get to know, because like you get to see like how seriously do they treat this pandemic. Who
Oh, hugely.
That's like a big insight into somebody's mind.
If I see someone partying on their Instagram or like whatever, I'm immediately like, I hate you. And that's
Or
like
you
been
realize you're not compatible because you have different values.
such a turning point for me, even with like friends.
Hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
like so mad. Like, cause I'm like, you live, so that's the thing, is you're highlighting like, oh, these people live in a different reality than me.
Right. Then you can also see like who's in their bubble, who do they value, what do
Mhm.
they do? Like what I feel like people are developing these hobbies. You sort of figure out like, okay, what hobby did this person do in this past year? How have they chosen to spend their time? How have they chosen to react to this? How, like
Mhm.
it's kind of this like very revealing time. So it is interesting to get to know someone under these circumstances. It's like almost trauma bonding.
Oof. Yeah, but is that sustainable? I'm like wondering if all these people who like jumped into committed relationships will remain so when the pandemic is over.
I guess for me, I used to only care about the end game of like if you don't stay together forever, what was the point?
Yeah, that's true.
And,
You had a lovely pandemic partnership.
but like right, like this is a really hard time for people. And so if you
Mhm.
were able to find someone you enjoyed spending time with who made it so you weren't absolutely alone all of the time, that's
Mhm.
great. And they serve that role for you. What is it like with Mal being in the house at the same time as all these Zoom dates?
It's mixed. Uh uh they it depends. They'll leave me be. Like, like I'm in my office and stuff, and they'll go and do something in their office, or they'll go like, so they will leave me be, but they struggle when the plan changes. So there's no spontaneity, right? Of like, oh, we're going to talk in an hour. It has to kind of
Mm-hmm.
be like, okay, so tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
I will be on, um and
Have
we
they been
and
dating? Have they been talking to people?
no. No, they when we were long distance and before the pandemic they were, but now during this whole time, no, they haven't. This is the first person who I was talking to since June. This you want to talk quarantine year. This is how this person and I met. A mutual friend of ours was at a Black Lives Matter protest and got arrested, and this person saw on TV them getting arrested and knew that this was someone that I was very close with. And so, and they knew my name, and through like, they were close with this person, but they lived in New York, and they knew my name as being a friend of that person. So they saw this happen in LA, and they were like, fuck, someone needs to go bail her out. And so they messaged me on Instagram, was like, hi, I know this is so weird, but like, you live in LA and I know of you as a friend of XYZ. She was arrested. Can you call around and find out where she is and get her out? And I was like, okay, I'm on it. And so I was calling around, and we figured out where she was, and I was keeping this person updated in New York. And then finally, like, we figured out where she was, and she got out. um and then like he and I were like bonded over that, and then that's how we started talking. So you want to talk the most 2020 way of meeting? We met trying to break out our friend from jail after they got arrested during a Black Lives Matter protest.
Well, talk about values, right? You guys align. I'd also say, like, if this hasn't been the time for you to date, and all of what we're talking about feels horrible to you and feels like you want to scratch your skin off, that's super valid too. Like
Mm-hmm.
dating apps are not for everybody. Talking to people online is not for everybody. And if you're someone who prefers to get to know someone in real life first, then it's okay to take a break from it right now.
I hate that I can't just casually be like, let's get a drink. I hate it because now I'm forced to confront like I'm forced to confront like logistics for a thing that makes it seem like you care.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Hate to
Ugh.
care.
Hate to care.
So what are your final tips and tricks for dating during a pandemic as a polyamorous person? And then I'll do it as a monogamous person.
Okay. Um be uh if you have a primary partner, keep them abreast of everything, and like don't be sneaky, don't be hiding in your office like with them not knowing or whatever. Don't be I think for me planning when I'm gonna, like, in real life, I would say Tuesday night I'm going out and I'm getting a drink with this person, and they would have time to emotionally prepare. So do that now. Don't just be like, I'm FaceTiming right now, make the same kind of plan. I think that there's no right way to do it right now, because I think everything is like truly wild. It's fun. It's fun to have people to text or to FaceTime with, but I remain frustrated by not being able to meet in person. So I don't know, dude. What's your advice?
If you're feeling really lonely and you're feeling like you wish you could meet somebody, I think that you should try online dating, and I think that you should look at it as like something you might need to do to get what you want. Even if like
Yeah.
the process of online dating isn't fun. But also that right now is a real chance to get to know somebody. I think you can be very vocal about, it's so low stakes because you're not
Mhm.
meeting these people in real life unless you've formed an actual connection.
Mhm.
So like say who you are, say what you want, be yourself, see what it's like, and then from there determine if you want to go get tested or have a picnic in the park, but I think that if it is something that you want in your life and in any other time you would be prioritizing it,
Yeah.
I don't think you have to give up just because of the pandemic. I think it's just a different order of things now.
Man, this really serves you and fucks me. This really, man, this really
Well, I mean, I
serves
would prefer
you.
to just still be engaged, but yeah, sure.
That's true. I'm just saying people, okay. People like you would really thrive, and people like me are probably itching out of their skin. But what are you going to do? That's why this channel works. There's two different types of people. And
There's
those are
many
the
different
only
types
two
of
types of
people.
people.